Good morning. This is Friday Fraud Law Review, and I pulled out an early December report from the OIG. It's not so much Social Security fraud itself, although it's published by the Office of Inspector General of the Social Security Administration, because the Social Security Administration assisted, I think it was Homeland Security. Let me just double check. Yeah, Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, um, with, other OIGs actually in other areas, including Detroit, um, the Wayne State University Police Department, Police Department of Detroit Metro, Taylor Police Department. So it was also the Department of Labor, Inspector General. It was obviously a multi-cooperation, um, cooperative agencies working together. This is huge, a huge case here. So it occurred in Michigan, obviously, as you heard, Detroit is involved. A Southfield, I guess, Michigan man, um, a $28 million cell fraud conspiracy. So it has to do with identity theft, which is why I'm putting it up there, because we are also vulnerable, I think, to identity theft. I don't know how many of you out there have been victims of identity theft. I know I was back in 2008. And the only reason I remember the exact year is because I was quite pregnant with my son, my second kid. Um, and I was able to resolve it. It was from California. I was across the other side of the country. It took like 6 to 8 months I'd say 8 months of doing the very steps they outline. And it was like the Experian, TransUnions, and Equifax, the major credit bureaus, give you an instruction list really of what you have to do to get this off your credit report. Basically, someone takes out a loan in your name because they had all of your personally identifying information, and they then don't pay the loan back. And now suddenly your credit crumbles. And that's what I noticed, which is when I realized this had happened. So I was able to get it all cleared up, but it takes diligence and it takes following their rules. I had to file a report with my own police department, which they could do zero about it, because it's a little outside the pay grade, right? And that was back then. Things might even be far better now, but they knew they had to take the report so that I could move to the next step. You have to report that you've been stolen from to get it taken as such, right? All right. So anyway, here is what this guy was doing. This is a really short article, and I will, as you know, it's a report from the Office of Inspector General of the Social Security Administration, and I will link it in the comments in case you want to read it. The fellow pled guilty, so let's just speak his name. Delano Bush, age 34. He pled guilty on December 6th. So he's no longer entitled to the presumption of innocence that I robustly defend for all people who have not yet been convicted. But since he has, it's all good. According to the court records, back in June of 17, at least as early as that, it could have gone on earlier than that. And continuing through at least September of 19, he and some others fraudulently obtained the PII, remember that's personally identifying information, from other people to purchase cellular devices on credit by charging those devices to accounts opened in the names of identity theft victims. That's like a twofer, without the victim's authorization, obviously. This is huge. The scheme involved more than 26,000 fraudulent transactions and resulted in a loss of more than $28 million. Greed. It seems to be the downfall for everybody who's going to have a downfall. Anyway, the U.S. attorney, which is Attorney Eisen, says quote, today's guilty plea marks a significant event in years-long investigation and prosecution. As this case shows, identity theft is constantly evolving, and fraudsters continue to find new ways to use and abuse their victims' personal information. Ain't that the truth? I mean, it is it is so bad and it's so prevalent. And this is just one little example. You probably, if you follow this, you've probably heard a few more. Um, I almost don't know anybody who doesn't have a loved one who has been in some way defrauded. And we have a whole thing about our elderly loved ones getting defrauded, particularly when they won't, let anyone else that cares about them into their business. They are easily swindled. Um, that's a little different here, perhaps. We don't know the full details of how they swindle these people out of their PII, but there is so many ways, and I think most of the time we don't even know about it. Like when I was identity thefted back in 08, I had no idea anything was going on. Um, it could be that, you have your credit card company's database is hacked. We hear about hacks all the time with all of our banks. I mean, I honestly think it is just something that is never going to be over. So it's probably best that we know how to deal with it because it's probably going to happen to most of us. So whatever the current steps are, and again, like the credit bureaus have their thumb on it a bit. So they're the ones that, said, oh, you got to do this, this, and this if you want to get it off. I'm like, okay. And again, it took a long time. It did. It took a long time and a lot of organization with paperwork to make sure I followed each step they said. I sent it in, whether I did it certified or however I sent it. Probably now would be fax and email, which is great. But things were a little different back then. But something to definitely stay in tune for. This butthead Bush. He faces a maximum penalty of 20 years imprisonment on the charge of conspiracy to commit wire fraud. His plea agreement also requires him to pay restitution to AT&T in the amount of $1.5 million. And sentencing is set for April 25th of 2024. I am perfectly fine with 20 years imprisonment. Man, tough. When it's greed, I probably am not as tough on crimes of passion, but when it's contemplated, planned, and happening, over and over and over again. I mean, we have what, 26,000 episodes? So this guy can't say it was a lack of judgment for a moment or a fit of passion. Anyway, thoughts? Should it be a more reduced sentence? I don't know. I just throw my opinion out there. Everyone's got one and they're all valid, probably. So feel free to chime in. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Bye. And don't get the cold I have. Bye.